Hey, everybody, it's Storm. Yeah, we're trying to get him back in. We were all set up a minute ago and then had internet trouble up in the Great White North. So we're just going to stand by here for a minute and see if we can pull him back in. In the meantime, we'll just add a little bit of fun and sound and things like that. So hang on a moment and we'll just kind of roll this around for a little bit. Okay, apparently we're back. So let's see what we can do about keeping this going, huh?
Oh, where am I here? Yeah, fire when ready. Oh, we're on the air.
We're on the air.
Okay.
Sorry, guys.
My apologies, guys. That got scrambled. My computer decided it was going to have a coronary, which I suspect is better than me. But in any event, welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on February 7th, 2026 at approximately 8:04 p.m. PST. Now, I bill myself as a spiritual guide. Let's back that up. We scrambled that too. Anyway, I've made it my life's calling to remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. I bill myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the exact same tools I personally use in my own day-to-day life, and the philosophies of life I talk about are the same philosophies I guide virtually every decision I make by. With this in mind, I know these tools will work for you because they continue to work for me and have literally worked for thousands of other people over the years with varying degrees of success, depending on their own personal efforts. Now, with this in mind, before we get into anything, I do want to tip my hat to Storm. He is our primary moderator in the background. He's the one that keeps tech running. Of course, when it screws up on my end, he's pretty much hooped. But he is also the one that makes sure the problem children are outside the chat room before they become a serious problem. Now, I scroll down a bit here. And we have, where are we here? We have Eternity Eternal is in with the gold. How you doing, Eternity? Glad you could join us. And we have Kira Ava, our another moderator, also wife, editor-in-chief, you name it. And she is here to help keep the conversation going, as well as keep an eye out on problem children. Much more importantly, in a lot of ways, she is also here to watch to make sure I don't miss questions, which is why I do ask people, if you've got a question, or more to the point, when you do, put it in the chat room in all caps. That way I can find it. Now, as you can see, we had wonderful fun with the internet connection today. But we go down here and we have Mike Jones is in with the silver. How you doing, Mike? Glad you could join us. And Operation Shutdown, you are in with the bronze. Glad you could join us. And then we have honorable mention goes to our wonderful Renee Andrews. You know, it's wonderful the number of people that are starting to come in here. We are now up to 720, by the way. And where are we here?
That's 720 subscribers, in case anybody was wondering.
That might be an idea. Now we go down. Okay, now today, let me just double check. One little piece of information. Yes, Mike Jones, this was your request. And like I said, you guys come up with an idea, let me know, because I'm always looking for ideas. Heck, I'm usually looking for my mind. But we are looking at the similarities between today's space events and Star Wars itself. Now, to be frank with you, I'm more familiar with Star Wars than I am with today's space events. But with that in mind, absolutely input is welcome. I will tell you what is unfolding in the world today, as far as the interaction, as far as what's coming with our space world, is very similar in a lot of ways to what was portrayed in Star Wars. Not the least of which is, and take a lesson from this, guys. In Star Wars, you have different species getting along. Okay, yes, they've got wars and what have you, absolutely. But they're not shooting each other just because they're a different shape. Humans have a tendency of doing that because they're a different color. Okay, and I'm still trying to figure that one out after 60 years of watching it. But when you take a look at it, now what you may not be aware of, and I'm pretty certain the government will deny it anyway, okay, is now everybody knows about the poster child, I think. The poster child, the Mir space station, which had been up there forever and a day, and I think is still there. It was put up by one nation and one nation only. That I'm aware of, there are 3 other multinational space stations in orbit. Okay, and yet they continue to fight with each other down here. You go figure that one out. Now you got to remember, we're talking about interstellar, meaning these species that are portrayed in Star Wars are absolutely from all over the place. Okay, and yet they figured out how to communicate. Now this is where the hybridization program, courtesy of the reticulans, came in handy. Okay, and that is the reticulans figured out Operation, the short answer is yes on multiple occasions. And rest assured, what we got down here for alcohol is nothing compared to what they got up there.
And the question was if Keith had ever been in a bar like the Star Wars Cantina.
I do that a lot, don't I?
Yeah, it's okay, no worries.
See why I keep her around? Amongst many other things. But yeah, I have been in a lot of them, and rest assured, you see a bar fight up here, there's no real big problem. There's a couple of people get knocked down, you get a few broken noses, maybe a broken arm. In the off-world cantinas, you end up with missing bodies. Not missing body parts, but missing bodies. Okay, they do not have a sense of humor like humans do. And no, by the way, the worst one I think I ever saw was between a couple of reptilians. Okay, a Strazazian and Tech-like. This did not end well for the Tech. Okay, because they don't leave bodies around. When you're dealing with reptilian combat, you're dealing with people that eat their victims. Usually after they're dead, but sometimes while they're at it. Okay. Fortunately, humans are not that way inclined. But the reason that the hybridization program was built is because of the fact that computers can certainly take words from a language and pop them in. Okay, you can take, hello hello and allo mean the same thing in different languages, but there's no cultural reference with the space programs we've got right now. People are still arguing. Cowie, how you doing? Glad you could join us. People are still arguing who gets credit for putting a space station in orbit. What they don't seem to realize is what the Star Wars world figured out. Yes, there are leaders. There are people that say, this is what we require. And they point the direction. But you got to remember, these guys do it for the society. Okay, which is where mankind is falling really heavily short. It's one of these situations where the consortium does share the different technologies to keep people all up and running at the same speed. Picture, if you will, having a world like we've got down here. They've got the newest computers up there, and they've developed them for the consortium. Okay, and they turn around and go, "Oh, you're just new here. You're a new member of the consortium. You'll catch up, but we're going to give you an abacus to communicate with." I'm thinking there's a problem. Okay, and the fact of the matter is, they do have, like, when you take a look at the Star Wars games, okay, you notice they've got holographic chess. We've got one step shy of holographic chess. I suspect we probably have holographic chess. We certainly have video chess, which is only one step short. And given the level of technology, you can bet holographic is not that far away. One of the important things we have to realize is the consortium strives to keep all of their communities up to stuff inside consortium space. They do not go down onto the planets and upgrade everybody's tech. That's just not the way that works. And this is why not every member of a society is permitted up on the consortium ships. Because you got to remember, not everybody has the same brain capacity. And yes, oddly enough, and I know this is going to be shocking, but on Earth, it does seem that many of the politicians do not have the same IQ that the kindergartners have. Okay, the same applies with the consortium. You still end up with people that you're looking at them going, you're well educated, or you say you were supposed to be well educated. Why are you doing that? Like, what Ituari would pick a fight with a Strazazian, or worse, a Sarkon? Okay, bear in mind, Ituari are what you would know as a leprechaun. A Sarkon is a reptilian that, as an adult, stands 15 feet tall. You can see a bit of a discrepancy here. Now, yes, the Ituari do have a certain amount of skill that kind of balances the scales. But when you're looking at transportation, like we've got, and it's already been done, okay, we now have on Earth, we have civilian shuttles. Granted, if you're not a billionaire, the odds are you aren't going to get to use it. But this is stuff that has already been developed. Okay, there is already, and again, I cannot tell you where I get the information. I can tell you that mankind right now is working on moving an asteroid into geosynchronous orbit around the moon. Now, this is something that Star Wars does all the time. They maneuver astronomical bodies in order to make things work. Okay, and there is a reason for it. But I can see a problem coming here that I don't know if anybody's paid much attention to. You see, I already know that the moon has a low grade atmosphere on it. Now, when I say low grade, I mean it's got about a millimeter sheath. Okay, and do not ask me where I found that one out, because I can't actually give you much of an answer. I can tell you, I certainly didn't find it on a Terran computer. But here's the thing. The moon, as we know, affects gravity. It affects weather patterns, the whole 9 yards on Earth. Well, given that the moon already has a low grade atmosphere, you bring an asteroid into geosynchronous orbit, and all of a sudden you're going to have all kinds of neat little situations. You know, I can't begin to tell you what's going to happen with it being geosynchronous. I can tell you the reason they're putting it there is so that they can build a Starship manufacturing plant. It'll be a lot easier to launch it from an asteroid than from Earth. The fuel consumption just to get the ship off the ground would be exorbitant. But, you know, the moon is already occupied. It's already got stations on it. It's already got fully functional way station on it. And yes, mankind does know about it. I know for certain that Canada and the US does, and I suspect that Russia and China both know. You know, these are things that are, like, in the Star Wars world, this is just commonplace. I'm just scanning down here. No, haven't missed anything yet by the look of it.
Nope, you're good.
You know, the neat part about it is that these things are already being done. We're being given this absolute bizarre story that the different countries on this planet are not getting along. Okay, and for that matter, that we're in danger of being written off by a number of various different off-worlders. The problem there is it doesn't add up, especially when you start looking at the joint ventures that are going on, quite frankly, behind the scenes. And yeah, some of you are going to be listening to me going, oh, that's just conspiracy talk. Okay, you call it conspiracy. You know, I mean, you think about it. Orville and Wilbur Wright talked about about flying. Now, I don't remember who they were, but there were 3 other people that built the plane at the same time. That one, I'm figuring somebody out there, probably Storm, knows who the other people were. But that's what we call basically useless information in a lot of ways. Mankind is building a way to communicate. And of course, what we got to remember, you're seeing a couple of things that are taking place. Number one, in the Star Wars world, they have great big automated mechanized vehicles. Okay, mankind now has, and they're relegated for military medical. Okay, is where they're primarily seen. And the reason they do that is, well, let's face it, they can siphon more money into it than anybody else can. Aside from a select few independently wealthy people. Now, there are already the first generation man amplification suits. I saw one today that literally took a paraplegic, brought her to her feet, okay, in a mechanized chair, and then enabled her to walk. Okay, now these are things that Star Wars has all over the place. The only difference is Star Wars takes that same mechanism and mounts blaster rifles on it. Okay, we've already got, we've already got nuclear power here. There is, that I'm aware of, one accelerator cannon on Earth. Now, of course, trying to aim the thing is a bit of a problem because right now it's so big. Well, how big is it? It literally has to wait for the planet to turn. Okay, they cannot adjust it, so it will only fire the direction it's pointing. You have to move the planet to get it to aim. I'm thinking there's a problem in war. Now, you got to remember, mankind has one planetary mounted accelerator cannon that I'm aware of. They may have a few more. Okay. But in the Star Wars world, everybody and their dog packs a handheld accelerator cannon. Okay. So again, we are at the beginning edge of that. And when you're talking about that, it's kind of like looking at it and going, okay, we're going to go in and we're going to fight these people, and they've all got automatic weapons and we're using a slingshot. I'm thinking this isn't exactly a balanced fight. Massacre might be a better way of putting it. But we are also talking about when you look at fashion. Mankind right now looks around the world and goes, oh, these people have a neat little look, so we're going to borrow that. In Star Wars, they take it from different worlds, not what mankind is calling first, second, and third world. I got news for you guys. There is no first, second, and third world countries on Earth. We've got one world, and politely put, we're messing up pretty badly. Okay, but every nation on Earth is on that one world, making them a first world country. Star Wars doesn't think about it. Okay, they just go, you've got a world, we got better tech than you do, you got better music ability, right? And they find a way to balance it instead of blowing each other up. Might be an idea to take a lesson from them. Now, did I put... I'm actually looking for something I made a note of yesterday. And of course, I'm not going to find it, so I'm not going to hunt for it. Somewhere in that mess, I've got more information. I was asked yesterday about whether or not the off-worlders have better drinks than we do. And the short answer is yes. Okay. But you're going to have to wait because I didn't think to track it down. It's behind me.
Yeah, and my trying to find it isn't going to work very well for obvious reasons.
I can see that being a problem. Oh, it's not behind me. I looked this one up because yesterday on Space Out Radio, I was asked about their bar contents. Okay, now they have something they call, let's take my glass off so I can read. Zyparnik. It is a liquid crystal empathic amplification. It's a synthetic drink, but it amplifies the empathic resonance. Meaning, not only do you get drunk, but the guy beside you gets drunk without him picking up a drink. I'm not kidding. As you can tell, this can lead to one heck of a drink, of a party.
Is that something that can be, is the flavor very, for lack of better words, customizable, dependent on the individual who drinks it?
Yes. Although the side effects are not all that customizable.
Yeah.
It does lead to some interesting conflicts. And the other thing you got to remember And this happens in what humans call lower grade bars. But it is normal in the off-world bars to turn around and sell somebody. It is just a normal thing. It's kind of like exchanging numbers. Oh, I've got a slave with me, and I don't want it anymore. How about you take it and just give me a drink? This is normal there. Okay. When we start looking at long range vehicles, humans consider long range able to fly for several hours. These guys consider long range able to fly for several days, or in a lot of cases, years. And yes, let's go back to the thing they didn't show on I don't think they ever showed it on Star Wars. And correct me if I'm wrong, somebody, if I did. But the transporters from Star Trek are real in the consortium. Okay, I like when you go back to the original Star Wars game played on the Apple IIe. It had a small glitch in it, but it was actually pretty accurate if you did it wrong. Okay, in the real system, you can do this. In the consortium system, you can actually do this. You can transport somebody, one individual, to 5 different locations at the same time. Now, I will tell you this does not end in a pretty sight. And you can only do it once per person. But I can tell you they're working on matter transfer right now. They've got the equipment on, they've got some of the equipment on Earth. Okay, and therefore, yes, long range in the Star Wars world, long range communication, as in star systems away, is possible. On Earth, they are currently working on it. Multiple times there, operations asking, have you ever traveled in the transporter? I've traveled in the transporter. I have traveled on the Wormhole Express, and that's a riot. But I will tell you, the gravity pull is insane. Okay, picture, if you will, when you're looking at the wormhole shuttles. Picture, and I don't know if you guys individually know of it. If you go to Disneyland, they used to have something called a roller coaster called the corkscrew. Okay, well, the wormhole shuttle makes the corkscrew look like a straight line. Unfortunately, for most people, that really doesn't work well. Now, I will tell you, they've got some incredible stuff to help settle things. When I was just a wee lad, my parents would pick me up, put me in the car. I'd throw up from motion sickness. They'd clean me up, put me back in the car, lock me into place, and we'd go for a drive. Almost invariably. Okay, these guys have metabolic stabilizers. That means somebody like me can actually get onto a ship and not feel it. I would not recommend looking out the window. That was actually a really bad idea. And yes, they do have windows, also known as force fields. Transparent, albeit. Okay, but these are things that mankind is already working on. Okay, hence why we have, in Star Wars, they had transparent aluminum. Okay, on Earth, we have plexiglass. In Star Wars, they have force fields. These are all different stages of the same thing. Okay, and you got to realize that as long as communication is happening properly, people are going to be able to function. But you guys have to, and I don't mean you, just the people in this room. I mean the people you're connected to have got to start dealing with each other as individuals and come to realize no matter where you come from, you're on the same planet. Okay, Where you came from isn't the relevant question. It's where are you right now? Now, we could go into weapons. We could go into a lot of things that are all of a, they're not a negative nature simply because they also use them for protective purposes. Okay? The last thing you want coming after your ship is an Archon. Bear in mind, an Archon starts off, it's an off-world race, but it starts off on a planet, wherever it can find. Okay, they start off as a microscopic, single-celled organism. They evolve to become planet eaters. Now, Star Wars has to deal with these guys. Okay, amongst other interstellar threats. And I don't just mean the different species and the different sentient species that are in the consortium. I'm talking about the ones that don't care if you're in the consortium. They're going to eat you anyway. The neat part, and the thing I find fascinating, is the number of people on Earth that have these bits and pieces of technology. They don't know where they got them from. They call, people on the whole call them downloads. Okay. And then they sit there looking at them going, okay, I found out how to build this. Now what is it? Okay. And that is one of the neat little parts. When I take a look at this is one of the reasons why I like watching science fiction movies. Okay. They reveal some of the stuff that is actually being worked on. Okay. If you were to take a look at some of the role-playing games that are out there, they get you to emulate some of the gears out there. Not the least of which, okay, is mechanized tanks. And I mean walking tanks. Now, Star Wars has them all over the place. What you may not be aware of is Japan on Earth already has these things. Okay, they're robots designed for heavy lifting in their warehouses. Okay, when you take a look at the sensors from Star Wars, they show you they'll show you a picture of what's in front of you, what's behind you. On Earth, okay, on Earth right now, again, surprisingly enough, in Japan, they have a neat little piece of technology used for long-haul truckers, where the back door, and again, don't take my word for it. Do your own research, look it up. Okay, the back door of the big rigs have a screen that relays exactly what the driver is seeing. It's got a camera mounted on the front dash, on the front grille. So while you're coming up behind them, you can see what's in front. Now, I'll tell you, this is a massive bonus when you're on twisting mountain roads. And Japan has their fair share of them and then some. Okay, but again, this is something that is all over Star Wars on a much bigger scale. Okay, when you take a look at that neat little thing, and again, we have to step outside Star Wars for some of it, or outside of common knowledge for some of it on Earth. Because when we take a look at it, if you watched Iron Man on Netflix, as in Marvel Iron Man, you'll notice he has a holographic display that he can move about. Okay. In Star Wars, this is just standard manufacturing plant. Okay, it's just a normal way to do things. So we aren't really that far off. We're on the leading edge of the very basic stuff. Okay, and yes, when we start taking a look at the medical side of Star Wars, they've got injections that will bring you back. Okay, and start to repair things. Mankind has technology that does that, albeit not as spontaneously or instantaneously as what Star Wars does, but they have gear to bring people back from the brink of death. Okay, these are, we're looking at stuff. I mean, you take a look at the cell phone back in the 60s. Okay, and we gotta go back to before Gene Roddenberry, as in Star Trek. Back then, they were dealing with communicators, as in flip it open and talk. We today are beyond the flip phone. Okay, we've gone way past that. And now we're on touch tone, we're on the touch screen with cross world communication on what we used to, when I was growing up, we called it a visiphone, because you could talk on it and see the other person. Now, I'm not sure if you guys have heard of, things like Snapchat or, FaceTime or Messenger, where you can see the person you're talking to. I'd lay odds I don't have 700 people in my room right now. Okay. I'd lay odds on it. As a matter of fact, we've got how many here? We've got three waiting right now. But sorry guys, I've only got one other person in here and one up front. Okay. So we are looking at technology that is evolving. And for those of you that are sitting there going, oh, fusion reactor is a bad idea. According to the original layouts, so is nuclear weapons, nuclear power. Or for that matter, let's try that weird thing. Flying was considered insane. Okay. Now, granted, they've got some laws that I think the reason they had to pass them is because somebody was insane. Like I know in Canada right now, still on the books, it is illegal to board an aircraft while in flight. By the way, it's also highly dangerous. I definitely don't recommend it. Of course, I don't recommend getting out of the plane either while you're in flight. But these are all things that Star Wars tells you about, and mankind is building behind the scenes. And not so much behind the scenes, in all fairness. One of the biggest things I look at is the fact that the ideas that Star Wars put forth, and this is why I say whatever anybody else says, I don't know. I'm a firm believer that Lucas knows like George Lucas knows a sheepload more than what other people do in the way of what's going on off-world. Because some of the stuff that he's portrayed, I can tell you wholeheartedly, and you get to believe me or not, that's your call. But a lot of this stuff I've seen. Okay. No, before anybody asks, I have not been permitted to use Lifesaver. But you might think about that. I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but if I relax concentration, and I'm going to switch to the other screen here. Now, that's my hand. Okay. Now, if I relax concentration, would you actually want me to actually hang on to a lightsaber? Just a thought. This is why I say, have I seen them? Certainly. And do I know the short version of them or the predecessor to them already exists? They have right now, mankind has a plasma sword. Now they call it a plasma rod. And it's only got about a 3-foot length. Oh, there we go. Yeah, Wugo's. They had a video phone technology in the 30s in Germany, similar to Skype, just more ancient looking. Yeah, and they also had radio phones during World War I and World War II, I think. I know in Vietnam they did. They called them Manpacks. a lot more clunky, a lot bigger, but they worked. You know, but some of this technology, I can understand why it was kept back. Okay, but claiming that it was being used, I mean, I love some of the stuff that's come out. You know, you get told, like for instance, years ago, at the time when they put the Star Wars program in place, and they laid claim that it was to handle intercontinental missiles. This was a cute thought. It was pointed into outer space. Now, the neat little catch on that one is sure, maybe for intercontinental missiles, but you gotta have 6 months lead time. Okay, in today's world, we've got for instance, and this is just plain normal in Star Wars, we have those neat little, and I forget what they're called now. Oh, the 3D printers. Okay. Now, the 3D printers that we have require some sort of chemical configuration to do. The ones they have pull the material right out of the atmosphere or right out of local space. Okay. Again, way more efficient, but they've had a number of years to perfect it. Okay. You see people with fully articulated hands and legs. Okay, Star Wars, this is common. On Earth, you know, ultimately it costs a staggering fortune. And, you know, with Star Wars, they intermix the whole thing and go, it's just standard medical. You lost a limb, let's put it back together.
I will actually, if I can interject, regarding some of the medical prosthetic related information. That technology, although it's still kind of expensive, is actually becoming more available, and there are actually robotic prosthetics that are used in connection with neural, I think they call it neural patterning or something to that effect. So we're walking that edge as well.
See, down, this is why I keep her around. No, there's a lot more reasons. But the reality of it is, technology is coming along. Okay, what we're looking at is first generation Star Wars. And yes, by the way, that's the other neat little thing. Since we're talking Star Wars, let's talk the Force, also known as psychic phenomenon. Okay, and yes, it gets used regularly by people, and it's not like it's commonplace in the Star Wars environment. It's just they got more people, so you get to see more. And besides that, way more exciting looking at somebody move objects around to the level that they do it, okay, in the middle of a normal show, than it is to just have people talk about possibly doing it. I mean, you want to watch something comical. Back in the 70s, there was a movie series, there was a movie trilogy called Scanners. The only way they could make the movie look like they had psychic ability was for the actors to make a really, really twisted face, right? I mean, it almost looked like they were heavily constipated, but it did add that sequence that they were doing something. In Star Wars, they do it normally. I personally know a gentleman that can actually cause a shockwave on a water on the surface of a glass of water. Okay, just by concentrating with his mind. And yes, he has been tested, and it's been proven he does it. Okay, so these are things that are much more common in Star Wars, but that's because they got way more people. Okay, so you see it a lot more frequently. One of the things we have to remember from that standpoint is that Star Wars and the things in Star Wars are coming into being because of the thing that adults keep getting told not to use. Okay, up until you're about 4 or 5 years old, you're told, "Oh, Munchkin, you've got a fabulous imagination." And about the time you hit 5 or 6, most parents will look at the kid and go, you know, Junior, that's a great imagination. Now, knock it off and behave like an adult. But all of these medical advances that are happening are because, and technological ones, are because somebody imagined, wouldn't it be nice if? Okay. And then you get the twisted people that go, wouldn't it be neat if Chucky were to get up and attack people? Now, fortunately, when you take a look at Chucky, you're not looking at Star Wars having those. But when you take a look at small soldiers, you are looking at technology that has evolved to that point. Okay, and yes, these are movies from way back in the 80s. You might want to look them up. Okay, now, needless to say, I can't tell you the day and month that it came out. That would be somebody else's department. But the things you've seen on Star Wars are things that are coming into play. Okay, right now, instead of a blaster bolt or some sort of a psychokinetic impact, we have guided missiles. You know, we've got fire and forget missiles. You've got grenades that are designed to kill people. Star Wars has grenades that are designed to vaporize them. Okay, you know, molecular disassociation is something that happens in Star Wars, and once in a blue moon happens here. The other thing you may not be aware of is Star Wars uses antimatter propulsion. Mankind, about 50 years ago, unlocked the technology for handling antimatter. Okay, now they did not do it as well as they would have liked, and accidents happen. Accidents happen, buildings go missing, people get disappeared, you know, this sort of thing. Well, that was really terrible English. You know, but these are things that mankind is already working on. We've already got I know the term as laser ablative clothing. Star Wars has it all over the place. Okay, mankind already has the prototypes for it. Laser ablative simply means a laser shot hits your shirt and dissipates, doing no damage. Okay, now there are things that Star Wars has that mankind is only barely starting to conceive. You know, things like an armor-piercing sonic bolt. Okay, and yes, I already know they exist. They already have. Now, bear in mind, a sonic bolt boils down to taking a mass of air and firing it out of a compression chamber. Okay, I already know these things exist. I have no idea how to explain how I know, other than I wake up knowing. Okay, but am I about to tell you who's got them? Not a prayer. Okay, and you know, the nice part about it is the people that have the ability to look into it, they don't figure that we can know. Okay, and since I refuse to give people's names, it kind of takes me out of the crosshairs. Because I don't know about you, but I did tell my wife that I'm not about to die again. Well, I start beaking off and dropping names of companies, corporations, and governments, and you can bet your bottom dollar I'm going to have a hard time fulfilling that. We are at 10. Okay. Camille, how you doing? Glad you could join us. You know, that the reality of it from my standpoint is pretty simple. Okay, I look at this world and go, okay, we are on the verge of leaving Earth. Now, here's the one little thing I'll leave you with. Okay, people complain about digital currency. You're not getting gold bullion off Earth. Number one, we don't have enough of it to actually function in interstellar space. So, they're going digital. Makes total sense. And yes, get this. The computers of today will handle that nicely. I know for a fact that there was an antivirus program built probably 30 years ago now, that when a virus hit that computer, the computer's antivirus turned around, tracked down the originating computer and or computers, and cooked the motherboard. Not just the hard drive, but took the motherboard out at the same time. I know this was built. Of course, I know the guy that built it. In all fairness, the one I saw was related to the guy that built it. But he has passed away. Now, that said, let me get to here. Today we were dealing with that. Tomorrow, we will be dealing with energy vampires. What are they? Then on Monday, we're going to look at your own personal version of financial manipulation. How to get your money to do what you desire it to do without hanging yourself out to dry. And then on Tuesday, we're going to go to the social side of it, and it is self-help on a societal level. Get to know your neighbor. Why? Okay. Now the rest of it is going to have to wait. Okay, because I only go to the Tuesday. Okay, but if you have an idea for something you'd like to take a look at, absolutely, as I've shown you here, I do open doors and I do cover the topics that people are looking for. Now, until I will be back again tomorrow. Like I said, 8 p.m. Pacific. I'll also be here at 4 p.m. for a day in the office. Until then, do take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.